Next up comes After the War, also a record with a phenomenal song, Blood of Emeralds. That's the closing song on the record. Cozy is doing most of the drums on here, but on Blood of Emeralds, that's the one and only Simon Phillips. I read an interesting story is that Simon had trouble laying down the drum track. I don't know why, but he said he heard it, he just couldn't figure out what to do. And they were talking, they were in the studio, and they were encouraging him to take another take, and they tried again, and it just didn't work. He was getting more and more frustrated and angrier. He said, I'm out of here, I need a break. And he went out, and I don't know where he went. He went to take a walk to a restaurant. He came back, I think, the next day or later on that evening. And he said, I got it. And they did the rehearsal and laid it down in one take. And that was amazing. Again, amazing song. Again, he alludes here to Phil Lynott, the darkest son of Ireland. He was standing by my side. And of course, Phil, and he sort of tells an embellished story of how they went from Ireland to England to seek fame and fortune. So that's the good. The bad and the ugly regarding this record is that it has this phenomenal song, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 other songs that are great Gary songs, and some other songs that kind of, I don't know, somehow they just don't congeal, they don't coagulate, they're not so great. After the War, opening song, great number. Running from the Storm, I love it. This thing called Love, Ready for Love, I just don't understand. And then Speak for Yourself and Lead Clones are okay, but it sounded like Gary didn't really invest here. He didn't invest in the songwriting. He sounds like he didn't invest in the riffing, in really baking these songs in his mind. I don't know what happened here, but it's not, to me, this record has a few parts that are mind-blowing, phenomenal. Running from the Storm for sure, Blood of Emeralds for sure, After the War. So three great, incredible songs. The rest of the songs, they're kind of, sort of, sometimes they work. I don't understand this thing called Love and Ready for Love and Lead Clones. Sometimes I hate it, sometimes I like it. Living on Dreams, Speak for Yourself. I know Speak for Yourself is not bad. Speak for Yourself is good, has a nice guitar solo in it. Good Gary guitar. More than good, actually. Very super Gary guitar solo on it. But still not so captivating, not like it grabs you and it takes your breath away. I don't know. I like the record, but I also at the same time don't like it. So that's why it kind of pushes it down on the scale. Next up is, of course, a mind-blowing, phenomenal record. And besides for in and of itself being a crazy, great, incredible record, it has super special significance for me personally, because this is the first record ever that I bought brand new, that wasn't used. To me, even then, it was like an extravaganza. I was 16 years old at the time, and I went to the record store and I saw it, and I was, oh, it's out. And just 1990 was a great year for me. I was running around doing whatever the hell I was doing, and I was doing what I wanted. And musically, I had Gary Moore, Still Got the Blues, phenomenal record, Judas Priest, Painkiller, Deep Purple, Slave and Masters. As much as the fans hate it, I love it. It's a great record. It sounded like let's just do whatever the hell we want to do, and to hell with everybody else. And it seems like it's almost like a Blackmore Lord solo album. But let's get back to Thin Lizzy and Gary. Well, Thin Lizzy is gone already, but Gary Moore. Again, there's not enough words to describe how good this record is. It may be a little bit overrated, a little overproduced. The sound, the drum sounds a little bit 80-ish. Not bad by any means, but they could have removed a little bit of the cheese from this record. But again, I think that culturally this is a very, very significant record, because this brought blues back on the map. And And I don't know to what degree Gary was conscious of this, but he saved himself from the onslaught of new types of music, like the grunge and the extreme metal and all of that heavy metal fans like to bitch and moan about, that grunge killed heavy metal. No, grunge didn't kill heavy metal. It's stupid heavy metal mute bands and stupid heavy metal managers and record companies that killed heavy metal. That they ran onto the shiny new toy and thought that that's what's going to bring them fortune, which to some extent it did. I'm sorry, but now we can see that there is a gravitation back to traditional metal. But anyway, moving on, became a staple. Oh Pretty Woman, how can you go wrong with that? Walking by Myself became a huge hit and a huge classic. Still Got the Blues, again a rehash of Parisian Walkways, but again modernized and changed a little bit. Texas Strut, another great kind of rocking, sizzling, bluesy. Too Tired, king of the blues. As the years go passing by, it's an Otis Rush classic. Can't go wrong with that. And of course, the great Midnight Blues that Joe Bonamassa is also covering. Again, this is very, very high. This to me, unquestionably, in the top 10 Gary records. Yes, you can criticize it, and yes, the criticism is in place, but overall, everything, the playing, the production, the songwriting, the sound, the guitar solos, even Gary's singing is better. I don't care too much for Gary's singing overall, but on this record, I think his voice and his singing, keeping it with the music, is really better than beforehand. Definitely better than on the rock records. His solos were more sizzling, at least technically, on the rock records, but I think his voice got better, especially on this album. But after it also, I think on most records, his voice is pretty good. Gary Moore's After Hours, you want to be cynical, you can call it Still Got the Blues 2. I don't buy that. Cold Day in Hell, a banger. Don't You Lie to Me, great song, not amazing, but it's good. It's good. I like it. It's good written. I like the bass on it. Story of the Blues, great song. See Some at You Baby, great. Separate Ways, super cheesy, but a great song. Great everything on it. Great guitar solo, great riffing. Only Good, Only Fool in Town, great one. Jumping at Shadows, good one. The Blues Is Alright, another good one. The Hurt Inside I love a lot. And it's closing with Nothing's the Same. Nothing's the Same. I like this song very much from the onset, from when I got this record. Again, not long after it was released. Usually I didn't get records until years after they were released, especially, well, obviously those that were released before my time, not only before I was born, but before I became, let's just say, music conscious or fanatical about music. But this one I bought fairly soon after it was released, and I did like Nothing's the Same, Cheese Notwithstanding. And at the time I didn't know how prophetic it would be, but when my mother died, every time I hear this song, it kind of rips my heart out, even though it's been a long time. But I guess you never forget a mother. Gary then releases a live recording, Blues Alive. I think that this was the last official live recording release from Gary. There was a poster in the middle, which is not bad. And very good quality, very good choice of songs, great live recording. You can hear that it's representative of that time. This is on the Still Got the Blues, or maybe on the After Hours tour, and yet to me somehow there is something missing in this record. There's something maybe turned, maybe not as high or I don't know. I don't know how to express it. Something is kind of missing. Not a bad record by a long shot. Good record. Very good selection of songs. It's almost exclusively Still Got the Blues and After Hours. What isn't? Further Up on the Road. This is off record. Sky Is Crying, King of the Blues, and then Parisian Walkways, but that's it. Everything else is from the last two records. I mean, I guess he was riding on the success of those two records. That's what made him an influential superstar. And I think I started to say something before and I didn't finish the sentence, is that anything, when we think today of blues, how blues became so fashionable again, I think that Gary is largely responsible for that, because when he dodged one, when he went in 90 of all years, he switched back to blues. I don't know if he knew. You got to be a prophet. Well, you don't necessarily have to be a prophet. So if you read the rock press, they already started to being nasty and kind of hateful, borderline, when they spoke about Guns N' Roses, the adulation and how they worshipped Slash and Axl, was kind of indicative. But I know this from hindsight, to look that up. At the time I didn't look at Guns N' Roses as significantly different from whatever was going on. They shed the makeup and the big hair, but the music, it's you can call proto grunge, you can call GNR proto grunge, but again, that's in hindsight. But be it as it may, Gary dodged one, and I think that he's in large part responsible for the blues revival that we see today, because I remember in the early 90s, no one was listening to blues. If you knew who Muddy Waters and Otis Rush and Albert King and B.B. King and Freddie King, if you knew who they were, you were an old fart. I don't think any young people listen to blues, or not much. Well, the guitar people, they knew kind of Jeff Beck, and Jeff Beck has some association with blues on his early records. We had, actually I still have it, I have a newer copy, but we have a copy, when I say we, I mean my brother and myself, a copy of John Mayall's The Turning Point. That's I think the second or third record after Peter Green left him, and the name of the project was Blues Without Bashing. They only ever released two records, The Turning Point and the next one, Reunion USA, I think is the title, where they released two blues records without a drummer. And we loved The Turning Point. We didn't care that much for Reunion USA, but The Turning Point, we played it so much. We wore the groove smooth. That record is falling apart, but I kept it because it's a memento. It's a memory from a point in time. So anyway, I think that Gary was really in large part responsible for the blues revival. Obviously there are businesses and interests and other people involved, but I think that Still Got the Blues really put the blues on the map and started sort of put in motion in bringing the blues back and to be fashionable. Next up, 94. Although 92 and 93 were busy years for Gary touring and recording, after all of the rumors of a Cream reunion don't happen, Eric does not participate in the project. So who do they take? Gary Moore, Jack Bruce's friend, Gary Moore. This is a phenomenal record. For the life of me, I don't understand that this record is not famous. The haters, Gary's detractors, people who don't like Gary, they hate this record. They say that if you're not Clapton, you don't belong there, even though they didn't call it Cream. I would have called it Cream featuring Gary Moore. At any rate, this is a great record. Its detractors, the Gary haters, they just cannot have enough saying bad things about this record. They say that it's horrible and worthless, and and Gary doesn't belong there. His voice, I kind of agree with that. They should have let Jack sing all the songs maybe. Great records. Glory Days, Why Does Love Have to Go Wrong? Great. I Wonder Why, great song. Can't Fool the Blues is very good. High Cost of Loving, great one. City of Gold, I love it. Where in the World, again, a must-have. This is a great record in its own right. Again, to me, they could have released this as a Cream record. maybe put even a couple of Cream songs. But again, it came out like this, BBM, 1994. In my opinion, this is a must-have, regardless of whether you're a Gary fan or not. Next up, just when you thought that Gary does not have another trick up his sleeves, he comes out with this baby. And I know you're gonna hate me for saying this, and I definitely felt like shooting myself in the head, but I had the original release from '95 of this record, and when I had to move, whatever, I had a situation, I didn't have money, and and my then wife wanted to make more room, and she said, just get rid of these records, no one will ever sell a record player again, and it's not coming back, and just get rid of it. And I sold, unfortunately, most of my library, except maybe 50 or so records that were dearest to my heart, more from a hardware perspective, not necessarily the music, but a lot of Rainbow, Whitesnake, and Black Sabbath, which then was my meat and potatoes. But anyway, this comes now in a gatefold. I think the original was not a gatefold, and it has liner notes, newer liner notes from Gary, and they put a photo here of which is obviously Photoshop, and this is already post-digital age. Even if the original had it in '95, Photoshop already existed. As you can see, it's Gary and Greenie, and they combined the two photos, the black area blends together. The record is phenomenal. It's totally everything you would and simultaneously you wouldn't expect from Gary. And the aspect that really gets me the most is how faithfully he captures Greenie without being a copier. And what Greenie did here is, in my mind, nothing short of a miracle. He restrained the Gary in him, and he played with less speed and less fire, just like Greenie. So he captured the essence of Greenie. He wasn't a copier. I mean, obviously he was doing his songs, but I think it's so phenomenal. It's so faithful to the original, but without being cheesy and copying and trying to copy exactly one for one. So he stayed Gary, but he restrained the, let's just say, the more negative. He didn't do this crazy, endless redoing it like you hear it a lot on The Loner or sometimes live when he doesn't like, he imagines that he didn't do it well enough. He has to redo the same segment a couple of times, like obsessively. And he cut and restrained that part of his being, his personality. Man, I just don't have enough good things to say about this record. And I listen to Peter Green every day, and Snowy White also, If You Be My Baby, Long Gray Mare, all the Fleetwood Mac classics, Merry Go Round, I Loved Another Woman. I Loved Another Woman is also covered by Snowy White, so definitely give Snowy's version a spin. Need Your Love So Bad, I Feel the Same. That's from John Mayer's The Hard Road. The Supernatural, also from a Hard Road. Drifting, Love That Burns, also covered by Snowy. Oh, Looking for Somebody, Jesus. And Snowy covers also Looking for Somebody. So, man, this is a must-have. This is a must-have if you like this kind of music. If you like only Gary's rock, heavy stuff, then this is not for you. Well, I shouldn't say that. This might be for you in an experimental way. You wanna kind of get into a really relaxed state of mind where you don't want to listen to heavy metal and just listen to these songs. And this is also for those of you who aren't so familiar with Greenie's work, a good way to get into Greenie, because this is, I don't want to say primitive, but proto British blues, pre-technology, cleaning up the sound. So if you listen to early Fleetwood Mac and Greenie's early work, let's just say pre-71, you can hear that there is very little technological manipulations. There are some overdubs and cleanings here and there, but not a lot, and it sounds very, very natural and raw and instinctive, and very warm, very human, I want to say. And Gary captured this in 1995, so in the days of advanced digital technology. Man, well done, Gary. This is genius. This is really a very, very special record, and that deserves a good listen. And I would say even if you like mostly Gary's heavy metal days and heavy metal, crazy, fiery, insane speed soloing and technical stuff, I think that you owe it to yourself. I'm not saying run by the record, but go give it a good couple listens and see what Grain is all about, and why Gary's adulation. But this was a very, very nice tribute and respect for Greenie. Next up, before I go to a little bit more painful Gary episode, I want to mention that Sykes in the mid-90s, sometimes it didn't make a lot of shock waves and a lot of noise, but I don't like Sykes, I'll tell you that much. As a person, guitar player, musician, insane. But as a person, I have some reservations. I'm not going to go into details. I don't like him. So, disclaimer, I might be biased against him. But I don't like John Sykes as a person. He started to put Thin Lizzy together. Blue Murder, unfortunately, failed commercially. That they released one phenomenal record and one very, very good record. I think that the second is not far behind the first. Is not as openly great, so it's just like more like another great, cool, kind of metal style record. Not necessarily. It's very heavy and fast, but to me it's not really in the main category. Anyway, a great record. Might not be as great as the first one. I'll give it that much. But anyway, it didn't work commercially, and poor Sykes, he was not able to wrap his head around that and being sacked from Whitesnake. So I guess he tried to revive Thin Lizzy, and in my opinion, it was a stupid idea. It was a nasty idea. Phil is dead. Phil was Thin Lizzy. Of course, nothing is a one-man band, and yes, Brian Downey is on all the Thin Lizzy records, and he wasn't that. Was he or was he not? Actually, I don't remember. I think that Sykes did recruit him. I don't remember, but he put up a band that was called Thin Lizzy, but it wasn't really Thin Lizzy, and thank God it didn't really go anywhere. They definitely didn't record. I think they might have had some concerts. I don't know how well it went down, but I didn't want to have anything to do with that. I thought that it was a bad idea and a nasty idea. And so that project died until approximately the very late 90s, early 2000s, when Gorham had a much better idea to make a touring only band and kind of a tribute band or something to that effect. And of course, Grand Slam went nowhere. You know, if Sykes would have tried to revive it under the Grand Slam name, maybe it would have made more sense. But actually, some other idiots from the original Grand Slam tried to do that, and of course, they went nowhere. Next up, we're going from Blues for Greenie, one of really the peak. Definitely, Blues for Greenie is definitely, for me, in the top 10 Gary records. We go from Blues for Greenie in '95 and a great tour. So the album, I think that I'm not sure about the fans, but I think that the press loved it, especially the blues guys. In '97, I don't know what happened to Gary. I don't know if he drank some contaminated water there in England, or I don't know. he dodged the whole saga, the whole episode of the grunge onslaught, and you know, the poor, downtrodden, oppressed heavy metal bands who were decimated by grunge and and the fads and the fashions. Right, when they were riding high on the same fads and fashions, they didn't have a problem with it. But when the new fashion came, all of a sudden they started whining and moaning about it. But anyway, Gary dodged that, and ironically, in '97, he released an album that I don't know what he was thinking, but it's all samplings and kind of like, I don't know what it is. I don't even want to think about it. Let's just talk about the positives. The album has 2, maybe 3 great records. It's Like Angels, phenomenal song, and on live, they reduced the noise and increased the human interaction. I think they had a human drummer, and they removed most of the samplings and the and the sampling synthesizer machines. And then there is Business as Usual, which is a sort of an autobiographical song that the lyrics talk about him and his relationship with Greenie, all kind of personal stuff. So, but musically also great song. And then there is an other song that unfortunately right now I don't remember, that also had a little bit more natural kind of human touch on it. And then maybe the title song, which is kind of hidden. You play it. It's on a CD, and then there is the last. Maybe it's that song that I liked a little bit. But man, I remember a friend of mine who at the time lived in I think in Sweden. And Gary Moore came up in conversation, and all of a sudden I just hear a flow of curses, the worst you can imagine, like incessant. It is pouring and pouring and pouring and more, and Gary Moore is the worst, and and I didn't understand because I didn't hear those records yet, and this was either in late '99 or early 2000. And when I finally and unfortunately heard those records, Dark Days in Paradise and the next one, man, I guess every great artist have to have a stain on him, right? Or on his career. And instead of learning from the bad experience, they say that a wise man learns from other people's accidents or other people's pain and hurt. And a fool learns from his own, but apparently Gary didn't even learn from his own. I don't know how well sales were, but he released a version of Dark Days in Paradise which surpassed for the worst even Dark Days in Paradise. Like, I don't know. I thought that he reached the lowest that you can. That this is horrible. This is horrible. Surrender is kind of listenable. Fire, a Hendrix cover, House Full of Blues. I don't know. If I hadn't have my head so far up his ass, I would have never bought this. I almost never listened to this. These 2 records were a stain on Gary's career. I don't care whoever says what. I cannot fathom. I don't believe that this was a genuine musical effort on Gary's part. Maybe he was in a bad mood. Maybe he was sick. Maybe the record company told him that he has to do something more fashionable. Ironically, or maybe tragically, I don't know. Wasp, if you're familiar, very good American heavy metal band. Also released in 1997 a similar direction, so very industrial, if you know what that is, like a very machiney, non-organic, non-living, non-natural sounding record. It didn't go as far as Gary, and he was also came from a place of anger. He got divorced. He got back a guitarist with whom he had a lot of fights, and he brought him back, and he released that 1997 album that, incidentally, to me at least, works better, even though it's industrialized and kind of unnaturalized, or maybe there's some drum sampling machines. it works better in that context, because that is an angry and kind of almost hateful, super raging kind of album. So it kind of worked better. I would have preferred it, of course, natural. And to his credit, Blackie's credit, he came back with the next record, Eldorado, in '99. Made a very super kind of rockabilly, almost like a Elvis Presley record played in heavy metal style. But anyway, again, I'm getting off on a lot of tangents. Before we go on to Gary's next record, at this juncture, Gary makes a one-off concert. I think they did just 1 or 2 dates in Ireland, one night in Dublin. So he went back and he did a concert in Philip Lynott's memory. It's not a complete tribute. So he played his own songs as well as Thin Lizzy songs. He played Massacre. You can find that on YouTube. So the entire concert can be found on YouTube, actually from different angles, and some of them are with very good audio quality. Gary was criticized for that, sort of, kind of, people accused him of riding on Phil's memory and and Thin Lizzy's name. He kind of brushed it off. He said that this is his tribe, but he's allowed to do it. He did it under the Gary Moore name. He didn't say Thin Lizzy, but it was done in Phil Lynott's memory. So good concert there and kind of good reminiscing. And I think that he got Brian Downey, I don't know on all the songs, but Brian Downey actually came back to play him 2 records later, and he definitely got Eric Bell and I think Scott also participated in that record. I should have looked at it better. I am skipping a lot here. So Different Beat was 99, and I completely forgot Scars. Actually, Back to the Blues. I don't have it yet. Not on record. The CD is over there. Back to the Blues was a breath of fresh air. So when Back to the Blues came out, I said, good. Gary is not continuing this insane stupidity he was doing before. I ordered the CD immediately, and I was very pleasantly surprised. A bunch of classics and Cold Black Night, Back to the Blues, Picture of the Moon. Very good record. I was very Evil. He's got a cover of Evil. Some just really great songs. I love it. I dig it. And then next up came out Scars, which Scars should have been released, or let's just say Dog Days in Paradise should have been what Scars ended up being. That would have made sense. So Scars is different, but it's not garbage. He's got 2 younger musicians from, I don't know, one of these crazy new bands, but not too crazy. Most notably the bass player, Cass Lewis, phenomenal. And that's a trio, kind of like a super energized budgie with a kind of a bluesier, bassier attack. Great song, man. Scars is a great record, start to finish almost. Man, it's every song there is a banger, and the live recordings, definitely. I think Gary redeemed himself already with Back to the Blues, but a lot of people will disagree with that. The Back to the Blues also brought a much more rockier flavor with it. So you could see that he's kind of growing a little tired of blues only after BBM and Blues for Greenie. You could hear that he wants to stay in the blues, but he also wants to go back to the hard rock. And definitely Back to the Blues is a very hard rocker. So is Scars. Scars is like a thumper, like imagine like a funk metal, not really funk, but a very bass laden and bass driven, like with a little funk flavored, funk aroma metal with a little bluesy elements. Just great record. Power of the Blues, back to exactly where Back to the Blues picked up. That one That record, I'll give it to you. If you come down on Power of the Blues as being back to the blues, I'll say I agree. A little harder, a little rockier, and a little heavier. Also, Power of the Blues and good songs on it. I also don't have it on, I think it doesn't exist on record, but I do have the CD over there. Next up was the One Night in Dublin that I jumped ahead of myself. And after One Night in Dublin, suddenly Gary comes back to the bluesier blues. So he sort of stepped back from from the heavier kind of blues, even though those two records are very good and I do listen to them. But I do listen to this one more. I think that his post 2000 works, I would say Scars, and then this one, or maybe the next one. It's a little bit hard. These records, I didn't grow up with them as a teenager, so I'm not so dead set on ranking them. But the opener, Done Somebody Wrong, kind of like a harder, rockier song than the rest. You Know My Love, that's an Otis Rush or an Albert King cover. I don't remember. Then he redoes his Midnight Blues from Still Got the Blues, a new take on it. I like this version, it's good. Ain't Nobody, like a little heavier. Gonna Rain Today, a little too slow, too subdued, too drawn out. Had he done the song 2-3 minutes shorter, would have worked better, or put a little bit more texture and color on it. It's a fairly flat kind of, but it's good. He sings good and the guitar goes well with the song. All Your Love, banger version. Again, of course, the Albert King classic. Flesh and Blood, somewhat similar to the concept of Rain Today, but it's a nice song dedicated to one of his children. Best song on the album, Cut It Out. This is a sizzling rocker. His guitar work is off the charts here, man. Whenever I listen to this record, I put Cut It Out back 2, 3, 4 times. It just boom gets me every time. This song alone is worth buying the record. But if you don't like the record, just listen to Cut It Out and put it on one of the streaming services. You're not gonna regret it. No Reason to Cry, also a little bit of a too whiny, drawn out blueser. Would have been nicer if he did a little bit more variance on it, or a little bit more interesting things. And then the second one, competing for the first spot on the record, I'll Play the Blues for You again, the Albert King classic. Great record. They did a relatively good, acceptable job on the jacket. But like I told you, I don't like these modern records. So they slap here a picture that either works or not. No liner notes, no investment, nothing. Just slap it on a piece of vinyl and that's it. Send it to the store. Make money. Make money. Make money. Make money. Make money. Do I sound like a broken record? That they really could invest a little bit more in the packaging of the records. We're getting real close to the end. Close as you get. I would say that the sleeve, especially the back sleeve, is in a way very indicative of what's inside. So you could judge a book by its cover, at least in this regard. The same company that made the first one, same low quality, low investment packaging. But the music is very, very, I would say, special. It's unique. It's unmistakably blues. But I think that Gary kind of had the same, let's just say, idea or the same feeling like Greeny towards the end of his career when he was with the Splinter Group. He was very much into the very early Delta blues. Robert Johnson, and really Robert Johnson is kind of the poster boy for Delta blues, but he lived very short, so his repertoire is fairly small. I would say Son House is the real true poster boy for for simple Delta blues. We shouldn't forget Big Joe Williams either, and there were others. But so this goes. It's not Delta blues. It's electric heavy blues. It does have the rocky aspect to it. A lot of attention is on the sound of his guitars. If the Devil Made Whiskey, great opener. Trouble at Home, 30 Days, Chuck Berry cover, very good. Hard, fast, rocky. Then we go into more the direction of the Delta blues. Hard Times, Have You Heard, Eyesight to the Blind. Now, make no mistake, these are not acoustic. These are not true Delta blues, but you can feel that he's being drawn a little bit to that, to the simplistic, or at least simple, more feeling oriented songs, even though he makes them rocking hard. Evening is a Sun House. No, Evening is I think his own, or might be another cover. Nowhere Fast is good. Checking Up on My Baby, I don't remember for the moment. But Evening is like a slow. That's really either his own or a cover, but he makes it very Delta blues direction, or Delta blues oriented. I Had a Dream, kind of sort of in that neighborhood, and then Sundown. This is the Sun House cover. So really a good record, and also highly recommended. And for me, it is very close in the overall worth or quality or greatness of the record to the previous one, to Old New Ballads Blues, but it's very different. So this is no one, I don't think that anyone will ever claim that this is a duplicate of the previous record. I don't know how successful it was commercially, but again, to me that doesn't really matter, because I like the music on it, and this is definitely a very good record. And we are getting here to this one. This one sadly is the last studio output by Gary during his lifetime. Also a very good record. Between the last three, Old New Ballads and Blues and Close As You Get, and Bad For You Baby, it's really difficult to choose a slam dunk winner or better. They're all good, and they're all different enough that they should be good in their own way. This is back to a little bit harder rocking, in some ways even more rockier than Back to the Blues and Power of the Blues. Not as heavy, not as fast, but more, a little bit more rock oriented, but also very heavily blues. So this is unmistakably a blues rock record. A little bit of a Stevie Ray Vaughan aroma here and there. Preacher Man Blues, man, I can listen to that song over and over again. Mojo Boogie is good. I Love You More Than You'll Ever Know. This is a Blood, Sweat and Tears cover, Walking Through the Park. Oh, man, good, just good record overall. I can't. Is there a bad song on this? I don't think so. Umbrella Man is good. It's a cover, I think, one of the blues classics. Down the Line, I don't remember. So maybe Down the Line is not such a great record. But anyway, this was Gary's final output before the very bitter end. And after this record, the rumor mill started working overtime that he's going back to the rock, and he did a series of concerts. He recruited Neil Carter. Oh, shame on me that I didn't mention Neil Carter until now. Neil Carter was on Carters of Power and on some tours. I think he was also on the Victims of the Future record, at least featured on a couple of songs. Yeah, he came back and forth. I think he was also on Run for Cover on some songs. So great musician, very accomplished, mostly keyboard, but also guitars and other, and then singing. And so they started doing a lot of songs from the Wild Frontier era. And the rumors were that Gary's getting back to rock, and rock with a very folkish Irish flair to it. Unfortunately, he never lived to do that. He went an uncharacteristic 3 years between records. Well, actually, he died in February 2011, so it's a little unfair to say. But if you look at it really from the late 70s, from 78, there isn't more than a single year gap, right? I mean, 78 is Back on the Streets, and then Black Rose, and then 2 records in 80, G-Force and Dirty Fingers, Carters of Power, and with Greg Lake in the middle. So that's 81, 79, 80, 81. Victims of the Future, okay, so 82, he skips 83, but again, just by a little bit. Victims of the Future is February 84, and then another live album in 84, Run for Cover 85, skipping 86, Wild Frontier 87, After the War 89, Still Got the Blues 90, After Hours 92, BBM 94, Blues for Greenie 95, skips 96, Dark Days in Paradise 97, a different beat in 99. I was going to say something else, but 2001, Back to the Blues, Scars 2002, Power of the Blues 04, One Night in Dublin 05. Again, not a full record, but and during all this time he also collaborates and appears on other people's records. All New Ballads and Blues 06, Closest You Get 07, Bad For You Baby 08, and then 09 and 10 we don't hear from him. And it's not like he was sick, but unknown to him, he had a heart condition. And then unfortunately he went not as extreme as Phil, but I'm sure that his behavior contributed to his untimely and very, very sad, very sorely missed demise. So I hope I didn't ramble too long. It looks like this is a 2-hour plus video. I guess I'll cut it into 2 segments, but again, there was a lot to pack in one video. I mean, Gary Moore had a humongous career. Thin Lizzy, maybe not that big, but still had an interesting history, and of course Phil in it. So I hope you enjoyed. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.